Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Line It Up on Zoom, virtual Line It Up this week. I am Robert Dickey. Alongside me, kinda, is Nick Siciliano. Nick, what's going on?
It stinks that we have to do this on Zoom, but regulations going on with school. We had to come home a little early. We will make of it what we can. I'm ready to get some picks in here. I don't know about you, Robert.
Yeah, as always, ready to get some picks in. Unfortunately, we're going to be doing it on Zoom, at least for the near future. We'll see what happens in the distant future. But for now, we're still giving our picks out on Zoom. Committed to the people, Nick and I are.
We're committed to the
To the
grind.
people. So let's get it started. Let's have Nick give us his first college football pick of the weekend. Nick, what do you got?
Perfect. I actually did want to go over first a little bit about last week and how we ended up doing because we did throw those picks out there at the end. So I'm going to start off with my picks from last week. I ended up going 4-3. Not too bad of a week for me. Actually, a really good week in college football, winning 3-1. My only mishap there was with Tulsa, minus 17. That was a tough one there with East Carolina.
Doesn't even count. Weekday game. Doesn't count.
I never even saw that coming. That was tough, but I did have a couple fumbled bags with the Saints and the Titans there. Titans, brutal loss to Cincinnati. You also ended up going 4-3. Had a much better day in pro football than you did in college, kind of the opposite of me. Wake Forest was a shining spot in your picks, but Charlotte, Penn State, and Oklahoma State all really let you down last week. And then you followed that up by three straight amazing picks in the NFL. Steelers +4 ended up winning the game. Chiefs minus 19.5, never in doubt. Patriots +3.5. Should have covered by a lot more than it did, but whatever. We don't want to talk about that also. But yeah, pretty decent week last week for both of us, both going 4-3. Hopefully we can even improve upon that this week, keep the streak going. My first pick so far this week is going to be on the Mississippi State Vandy game. I'm going to be taking the over 44.5 here. This number intrigued me just because of how low it was. I understand why it is. Vanderbilt only averaging, I believe it's just over 10 points a game in their games over the year. They haven't been able to score on really anybody. The only game they played well in was their first game of the year. And since then, it has really kind of been an uphill battle for them to even get in the end zone. It's 11.3 points per game. I know that Mississippi State has not been great on the offensive side of the ball either, but I think against this Vandy defense, they can really exploit them and kind of stick to what they're best at, which is throwing the football. Mississippi State has been atrocious running the football this year, only 30 yards per game average, and they've played 5 games. I know it sounds like it can't even be possible, only 30 yards a game on the ground, but I think they're going to have a chance to get that ground game going a little bit and really expose the pass defense of Vandy, which is bottom of the league. They're basically bottom of the league in every defensive statistic, Vanderbilt. I think they're going to be able to get their offense going, even though they only average 15 points per game. I think they're going to be able to hit maybe 30, 35, and that leaves Vandy with not too tough of a job. Get 10, get their average of 10, and that covers the over. I think that Vandy will have a tough time keeping anybody under 30, seeing as though their last 3 games, they've given up 54 to Ole Miss, 41 to South Carolina, and 41 to LSU. I can't see them stopping really anybody at this point, even though Mississippi State has had a really hard time running the ball. So give me that over 44.5 there. Pretty confident in that.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty convincing there. I mean, I'm not a huge Mississippi State guy. I think that their first win against LSU was extremely fake. But, it is what it is. I understand. But I think they'll be able to put up points against Vandy, much like you said. Vandy's defense is pretty horrible, much like their offense, but I can see them putting up 7 or 10 and pushing that over just over, what was it, 43.5 or?
Yeah, 44.5.
Yeah, whatever you said it was. So that's a pick that personally I'm definitely behind. My first pick of the weekend, I have Georgia and Florida over 52.5. Love this one for a number of reasons. Number one, you see what Georgia does against top opponents. They don't hide. They're a top-tier SEC team. They're going to put up 30 points on a Florida defense that hasn't really been able to stop anybody. It's been kind of a cupcake schedule for Florida in the first 3 games that they played before, obviously, the whole COVID outbreak. But with Florida, They let up points to Ole Miss. I mean, I know Ole Miss has a good offense, but they let up points to Ole Miss. They let up a lot of points to South Carolina, and they let up a lot of points to Texas A&M, who doesn't score a ton. That's not their MO. They're usually a defensive team. So not Florida's defense is not great at all. I think that Georgia's easily able to put up at least 30 in this game, probably more, on a tough Florida defense. And Florida's offense is really, really good. And I know that Georgia's defense is an NFL defense, but Florida has a first-round pick, arguably, in Kyle Trask at the quarterback position. And Kyle Pitts at tight end is a beast. I mean, there's nobody in the league that can, in the country that can cover him. So, in my opinion, Florida puts up enough to push this one over. It's weird for me that I'm saying Florida puts up enough considering the strength of their offense this year, but I think that Georgia's going to have no problem scoring, and I think that Florida is going to, like I said, put up enough to push this one over. Maybe like a 35-28 Georgia win, something along those lines, but give me Georgia and the over. Love the over in that game. That's my best one of the week.
Yeah, I love the Georgia pick there. I've never really been a fan of Florida all throughout the beginning of the year.
I am a fan of Florida. I just obviously we all know they don't have a defense.
I personally am not just because of that. I can't. Some of the teams that I love just personally always have that stingy defense, even though maybe they may not be great on offense. I just kind of I gravitate towards those teams. Like in the NFL, you see like the Chicago Bears this year. I gravitate to that kind of gritty, grindy team. I'm intrigued by that, and I like it. So
not a huge Bears guy, but anyway, continue.
I'm off Florida. But yeah, are you ready for me to move on? You all set with that?
Ready to go? Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Moving on, my next pick is going to be in the UMass Marshall game. This game is going to be played at Marshall. Although UMass is the home team, only a few minutes away from Springfield College, I'm going to have to pick against UMass here. Marshall minus the 44 for a multitude of reasons. And I really don't even have to say too much about it just because of how bad UMass is and how historically they have been and how amazing Marshall has played this year. Maybe they haven't played the greatest opponents, Marshall. Maybe they haven't done enough to be ranked in anybody's eyes, maybe in the top 15, but they have played on the field like a top 15 team in the country. And I understand their conference, that type of stuff keeps them out of that conversation. But you're going up against a UMass team who is 2-7-1 ATS in their last 10 on the road, which is absolutely atrocious. And they were just shut out in their only game of the year a few weeks ago, 41-0 against Georgia Southern. Marshall, who's undefeated, is a much better opponent than that Georgia Southern team. They've only allowed 9.4 points per game on defense all year. This is number one FBS for teams with enough games to qualify for this. They're also averaging 33.8 points per game, which should jump up at least 10 points against Georgia. Should jump up at least 10 points, just as Georgia Southern's did. They were averaging only 26.5 points per game. Went in against UMass, put up 41. So I think that Marshall can cover this easily. And I also like the under here of 55.5. But my pick is going to be on 44 Marshall, just because I see UMass scoring 0 and I see Marshall scoring at least 44.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I don't think UMass scores either, in my opinion. Maybe they get a fluky touchdown with field position or something along those lines. But I agree, UMass is probably the worst Division I football team in the nation, and there is no point spread that I would feel comfortable taking them.
Yeah, I just don't see them scoring. If they couldn't score against Georgia Southern, I can't see them scoring against a team who only allows 9 points per game. So,
hey, let's check out that team total under. It's got to be like 9.5 or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know what it is right now. I'm sure it's probably less than 10.
I'm sure. My second pick of the weekend, Pitt +3 at Florida State. I'm usually one to stay away from those road dogs of 3 points or less. That's usually not a spot of mine, but I think that when people were looking at this line, they were forgetting something very important about this game. Florida State sucks. They're really bad. They're not a good football team. Any team that loses to Georgia Tech in the opener at home, 16-13, is not a good football team. And I understand that Pitt's been having their struggles, but
quarterback.
Let's look at this. Pitt beat um, Pitt beat Austin P, Syracuse, and Louisville to start the year. Three pretty easy games. You know, they were ranked. People were thinking they're good. Then they lost a 1-point game to NC State, a 1-point game to BC on a missed extra kick in overtime, and then lost to two out of the top three best teams in the ACC in Miami and Notre
All
Dame.
good football teams.
All good football teams, especially the latter two in Miami and Notre Dame. I think we're forgetting that Pitt isn't a bad football team, where Florida State just is. I think they're getting way too much respect for beating North Carolina. North Carolina's, in my opinion, and I know in yours as well, not that good either. But I think they're getting way too much respect for beating UNC, and I think that they lose straight up to Pitt. I'd even take Pitt money line, but for the sake of the show and being right, I'll take the 3 points if you're going to give them to me. Give me Pitt +3. I think they're a good football team where Florida State's not, and it's as simple as that.
Yep, I agree with you there a lot. The only thing that does worry me there is I know Kenny Pickett is still out there. They have struggled on offense quite a bit. I did take them against Notre Dame. I was sadly mistaken when I thought they were going to be able to move the ball like they usually had been. I do love Pitt's defense, though, and I like them especially against a bad Florida State team. So I agree with you there.
I think they can. That despite Pickett being out, I think that they stop Florida State to a point where they can score. Because we're not talking about Notre Dame's defense or even Miami's defense, which isn't bad, isn't great. We're talking about Florida State's defense.
Yep.
Nothing to brag about, nothing to write home about. Give me Pitt in the 3.
Awesome. Moving on, I have my lock of the week in college football. The lock of the week last week was also an over. It also covered, so I'm hoping we can keep the lock of the week trend going on. My lock of the week this week is going to be over 67.5 in the Virginia Tech and Liberty game. I see a lot of strengths here with Liberty, and this is not really surprising to me, seeing as though their schedule has kind of been dog crap, to put it in the simplest terms as I can. I understand they're ranked 25th in the country. I understand that it's a theorem game, but Virginia Tech is a lot better than this football team just because of the division they play in, and I think the opponents they play. I think it could get out of hand, but I also think that Liberty and their offense could put up some numbers against a very mediocre defense in Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is ranked 90th in the country in yards per game allowed, 98th in the country in yards per carry allowed, 5.2 yards per carry they're allowing, and Liberty rushes the ball well. They run for about 4 yards per carry. They do it well. They do everything on offense well. Like I said, I really couldn't find a weakness with Liberty's team just based on how bad their opponents were and how bad they were blowing them out. I do think, though, that points can be scored in this on both sides because I love Virginia Tech's offense. I don't really know what I'm going to see out of Liberty's offense, but I know that Virginia Tech's defense is bad enough to where I don't really care what I'm going to see out of Liberty's offense. I know that they're going to put up points against a team who really hasn't been able to stop anybody. And just some notes here. Liberty's gone over 4 out of the last 6 games this year. So they've gone 4-2 this year on the over. Both instances of under was when the opponent only scored 7 points. Those opponents were North Alabama, who's FCS, and ULM, who's 0-7 on the year. Some of the worst football teams in the country. So I don't even count that for going the under. Liberty has gone over in pretty much every game they've played against a real opponent. Virginia Tech is also 4-2 on the over. They're both averaging 38 and 37.7 points per game, respectively. I just love here Virginia Tech's horrible defense and that their biggest weakness is against the run. And Liberty averages 255 yards per game rushing the ball. So give me Liberty, Virginia Tech, over 67.5. Lock it in.
Something I love as well. I actually may be playing that one myself on Saturday, but let me move on to my final college football pick. I have Tennessee and Arkansas going under 52.5 now. I hate taking unders in college football, especially when we're talking about the SEC. But when I look at these two teams, and I've watched them all year, these are 2 of the top 3 defenses, in my opinion. Sorry, Kentucky fans, in the SEC. I really, really believe that these 2 defenses step up to the plate. on a normal basis. And when you look at it, the data is there. Arkansas played a really competitive first half in their first game of the year against Georgia. I believe they were actually leading in that game for a long period of time, but they don't really score against good to decent defenses. They scored 10 points against Georgia, 14 against Mississippi State. I mean, nothing to write home about on either one of those two games. And Mississippi State, as we've been over earlier, doesn't even have that good a defense. Excuse me. Um, in their last couple of games, I think that this total has been pushed up a little bit because of the scoring in games like the Arkansas-Auburn game, where you saw it go 58 on kind of a little flukish ending there for Auburn. The Ole Miss-Arkansas game, the total was set in the 70s, if you remember. That game missed by at least 20 points on the over-under. And then the Arkansas and Texas A&M game, Arkansas did struggle in that one on the road against Texas A&M, giving up 42 to the number 7 team in the country. Can't fault them there for that one. With that being said, they played significantly better, especially on the defensive end when they are at home, including that Ole Miss game. So I think that they really shut down Tennessee. I actually like them to win the game as well. Tennessee obviously has had some struggles on offense. Going back 3 weeks to that Georgia game, where they only put up 21 against obviously the number 5 team in the country and the best defense in the SEC. But they followed it up by putting up just 7 against Kentucky, including a couple of pick sixes, and then just 17 against Alabama, who obviously is Alabama. You got freak athletes all over that side of the ball. When I look at Tennessee, their 2 highest scoring games this year have been 35 and 31 against Missouri and South Carolina. Not teams that you really want to boast being your biggest victories of the year. They don't show up against good teams. They don't score points against good teams. Like I said earlier, 21, 7, and 17 in their last 3 games. I don't think this changes with a tough road game against Arkansas. I think, if anything, I'd be worried more about Arkansas scoring points and breaking this over than Tennessee. But really, I don't think either team scores enough to break the 52.5. So give me under 52.5. And if I had to pick, Arkansas.
Perfect. I don't really have any rebuttal on that whatsoever. I do like Arkansas just as an SEC team who I think doesn't get enough credit. Those teams in there that are middle of the road SEC teams who really on any given day could go out there and beat one of the top tier teams in a fluke game. But you just don't see the consistency week in and week out from those teams. So they are one of my favorite teams in the SEC, Arkansas, just off of kind of an underdog feel. So, yeah, give me Arkansas.
Why not?
All right, perfect. If we want to move on now, we can get to some NFL picks. That would be awesome. I can start off this week with a bit of a homer pick. It worked out last week for you. Hopefully it's going to work out for me this week. Pats minus 7.5. The reasoning for this.
Gotta buy the half point.
What?
Gotta buy the half point there. Get it down to 7.
I have it written down here by half. So yeah, 7.5 here. I will probably be buying the half. I honestly though don't even know if I care about the half because this Patriots team came out firing in the second half against the Bills this past weekend. Say what you will about their offense the last couple of weeks. They did come out. They showed something in the last second half of the Bills game. They should have won if it wasn't for a fluke Cam fumble. I hate to say should have won, but I see them winning that game if Cam doesn't fumble the ball. And the other side of that, you have a New York Jets team who could be the worst team in the history of the league. They have been absolutely atrocious this year. That 7.5 spread, they have not covered one time all year. No game for the Jets has been within 8 points. Their closest game was a couple weeks ago against the Bills. It was an 18-10 scrappy, weird game. They still lost by 8. They've lost by more than 8 in every single game this year. I don't see that changing with a Patriots team who's going to be strapped for a win. They need one here. Probably the longest losing streak the Patriots have been on in a really long time. I don't see the Jets covering. I don't see the Jets starting to cover today. They've only done it once all year. Haven't covered 8. Please give me the Patriots here, and it's not a homer pick, I promise.
No, I completely agree. I mean, the Pats are most likely going to be my Monday night play. I'm surprised it's only 7. I think the Pats are getting disrespected. Granted, they've done nothing to earn anybody's respect so far this year. And with my first pick, I'm actually going to go with the team that beat the Pats last week in the Buffalo Bills +3 against the Seattle Seahawks. The reason that I'm so confident in this pick, obviously I've done my research, I've looked at the numbers, the trends, everything that there is to do. I was with some friends the other night, and they were telling me how the Seahawks -3 on the road is the lock of the week. And I said, you know what? If they're thinking like that, the public is thinking like that. And what do we always do? We fade the public. We fade the public. Bills +3. I'm so confident in it, but I'll give you some other reasons in case you don't trust my dumb friends. The Bills are kings at playing close games. No matter what the spread is, no matter what the side is on, they play close games, whether it's good or bad. In the first game against the Jets, they only won by 10. In the second game against the Jets, they only won by 8. Now, granted, 10 and 8 are not necessarily close games in the NFL, but against the Jets, I'd say that they are. Neither one of them, the first one, I think they covered the spread. I forget what that opened at, but the second one, they missed the spread by quite a bit. 3-point game against the Dolphins, 3-point game against the Rams, 7-point game against the Raiders, 9-point game against the Chiefs, and 3-point game against the Pats, all very close games. I don't think that they get blown out at all by Seattle, who's going to be missing Chris Carson. Now, they are going to get Jamal Adams back, but one thing that we do know is that Seattle really struggles with the pass rush. They don't get pressure on the quarterback. I think if you can keep Josh Allen in the pocket and give him a little bit of extra time, he's going to have success. We've seen him struggle when he gets pressured and he has to roll out and make decisions on the fly. He's not going to have to do that here with Seattle's pass rush being so bad. And I think that that's going to give the Bills confidence. I think it's going to give the Bills run game confidence. We saw Zach Moss and Devin Singletary have big games last week against New England. I expect that to happen again against the Seattle rush defense. That's not very good as well. And for that reason, I think that the Bills have a legitimate shot at winning the game. Think about it. Seattle's going to be traveling to play this game at 10 in the morning their time. We know how West teams typically do against the East. Also, speaking of close games, Seattle loves close games. I mean, when we look at the Seahawks schedule, only 2 of their games this season have been decided by more than a touchdown. One of them, which happened last week against the 49ers, which the 49ers ended up cutting it to a 10-point game. The other was against the lowly Falcons. So I really think this one's going to be close no matter which way it goes. Even if the Seahawks win, I wouldn't be surprised if it's by only 3 and we push, or if it's by less than 3. But I do like the Bills to win. Once again, another money line pick that I would take as a little bonus with a little asterisk over my Bills +3. But give me the Bills and the points this week. I like them to win the game.
Yeah, just a quick thought on the Bills and really just the AFC East in general, just because we were talking about a little bit about the Patriots and the Bills. I think this division is going to continue to get closer and closer as the year goes on. I think the Patriots struggled coming off of that COVID. I know I hate making excuses to the Patriots. I know they hate making excuses for themselves. I know they hate hearing it from the media, but I really do see a path, especially with the rest of the year schedule here for the Patriots, for them to climb back into this division. And I also think that there were a couple fake teams in the division, i.e. Miami, i.e. Buffalo, and I do. I think that this division could end up being a few 9-7s and 8-8, and the Jets all the way at the bottom there. I think the Patriots have 2 free wins coming up against the Jets. The Bills have already played the Jets twice. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
Okay. I think that the schedules were flipped in terms of strength of schedule and how hard it was going to be. I see a downhill trend for the Bills here, a downhill trend in Josh Allen's performance as it's been since that 4 games where everybody wanted to crown him the MVP. I see that it's no hate. It's just a real thing. But yeah, I see them both declining here, especially with Miami, which is going to be my next pick in that game. I see Tua being a more difficult person to get that Miami offense started. I see definitely the Patriots at least making some kind of effort to get back in this division. So I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a division to watch. I wouldn't say it's going to be the greatest division. Obviously, I don't think anyone's really winning a playoff game, but could be an NFC East type of division ending there. For my next pick, like I said, Miami, I'm going to go with the over here against Arizona. When I first looked at the game, initially my knee-jerk reaction was to take the under. Thinking about how Miami has played on defense so far this year, points-wise, they played last weekend against the Rams. And even how we saw Tua struggle a little bit in his first game and kind of the decline on offense, especially with Myles Gaskin missing time now, I thought that it was going to be very tough for Miami to get the ball moving. But then I looked into the defenses a little bit and I saw some contradictory information. Like I said, we all think that Miami's been playing amazing defense this year. They've only allowed 18.6 points per game, which looks good on the surface. That's number one in the NFL, right? Arizona, as well, on the opposite side of it, has only allowed 20.9. That's number 8 in the NFL. So both teams have really only allowed less than 20 points per game. That's top 8 NFL for both of them. But then you go and you look deeper into it and look at the yards they've given up per game. I know yards isn't always indicative of how the defense is playing, but you have to think here, if these teams can finish in the red zone, it's all about field position. They are 19th and 21st in yards per game given up on defense, which is almost bottom third in the league. So like I said, that's contradictory information there. I think they've been a little bit fake on defense, especially Miami. I think they could get exposed here by Kyler. And I think Miami can put enough points up, whether that be on defensive turnovers, whether Tua can get it going. I think it's going to be a lot of points for Arizona here. I think it's going to be not so many for Miami, but I think it's going to be enough for the 49.5 to cover, just because of how many yards I think are going to be slinged around here with Kyler running all over the place, throwing the ball, being the number one fantasy quarterback so far. I think he's going to have one of those games again this week against the Miami defense, who I think is overrated.
So tell me, because I know that the Cardinals have gone under in a few of their games. So you like the spread here as well?
I like the Cardinals.
I believe they're only 4-point favorites.
I like the Cardinals here, and I like the over-under. The only reason that I like Arizona so much here is because of Tua. If this was Fitz, I would be taking Miami all day long.
Slamming it over if it was Fitz.
What do you say?
I'd be slamming it over if it was Fitz.
Exactly. But I like Arizona here a ton just because of how ineffective I saw Tua last week. It's not that he was bad, don't get me wrong. It's that he didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They won last week strictly because of one thing, their defense. I don't think they can replicate a touchdown in every facet of the game like they did last weekend.
I agree.
Weren't they the first team to do that forever?
Yep. Literally every facet of the game they scored a touchdown.
Literally every facet. I just don't see them doing that again, obviously. So, yeah, Arizona here I love minus the 4. And also I like the over in this game just because I think Arizona is going to put up 30.
Yeah, I like that as well. I would agree with you there, especially on the Cardinals minus 4. I don't think that's enough for a home team against a rookie quarterback. So give me the Cardinals there as well. My next pick is the Ravens minus 1.5 at Indy. I think Indy's getting way too much respect. I think the Ravens are getting disrespected with this line, and it's as simple as that. Indianapolis, it's been highlighted how bad their schedule has been. They played teams with a combined losing record. The Chicago Bears make it even better. But they have played quite literally bad teams and fake good teams. Let's look at this. They played the Jaguars in the opening game of the season. They played the Vikings in the second game of the season. 2 absolutely horrendous teams, bottom of the draft order type teams. They played the Jets in the third game of the season. 0 wins, literally number 1 in the draft order. Then they played the Bears. They beat the Bears, 19-11. Didn't put up many points against a good Bears defense. That was in Nick Foles' first start. And like I've been over, I don't believe the Bears are good. You might believe the Bears are good. I don't believe the Bears are good. Followed that up by losing to the Cleveland Browns, who, I know I picked them to make the playoffs. I know that I'm a Baker Mayfield guy, noted Baker Mayfield guy, but I have began to slowly detach from Baker Mayfield, break up with Baker Mayfield. It's been tough for me. It really has. But I don't think that he's a good NFL quarterback anymore. I can't keep defending him against every logical thing ever. The Colts lost to them. Anyway, they go on, they take on the Bengals, and then they take on the Lions. I don't see a good team in here that the Colts have played yet, and they're going to face Baltimore and keep it within a point. It's not going to happen.
Teams go 5-2.
What's that?
The bad teams go 5-2.
Bad teams go 5-2? What are you referring to? Which team?
Do bad teams go 5-2? I'm asking a question.
No, absolutely not. The Bears aren't bad. They're a fake good team.
Okay.
They're a fake good team, much like the Colts are a fake good team. I was on the Colts early this year. I picked the Colts to win the AFC South. I was on the Colts. But hand up, I can correct myself when I'm wrong. The Colts have shown me nothing to prove that they're good. Absolutely
Aren't the
nothing.
Colts also 5-2?
I believe so, if not 6-2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 games, 2 losses. Yeah, 5-2. Bad teams don't go 5-2. The Colts are not a bad team. They are, in fact, a fake good team. They will not win a playoff game even if they make it there. And who knows at this point. But regardless, I mean, aren't the Browns 5-2 or something crazy like that?
They used to be. They've lost like I think 3 or 4 straight. If you go look, I don't know.
Browns?
Yeah, I don't. I think they've. I can check into it right now if you want to.
Oh, I'm looking. The Cleveland Browns right now. Let's see.
They're on a bye this week, right?
What's that?
Are they on a bye this week?
Yeah, going into their bye, they lost their first game
They're
against
5-3.
5-3. There you go.
Not awful.
Playoff spot right now.
They've lost 2 out of their last 3 though.
Playoff spot at the moment. Browns are a fake good team. Colts are a fake good team. Bears are a fake good team. Ravens are a fake Super Bowl contender, but a real good team who beats up on fake good teams. Give me the Ravens -1.5. I don't need to spew anything else. I don't need to tell you that the Ravens are number 1 in first half points per game. I don't need to tell you that the Ravens are in the top 10 in points per game and defensive points allowed per game. I don't need to tell you that the Ravens are top 5 in DPA per 100. I don't need to tell you any of that. I just need to tell you that the Colts are a fake good team and that the Ravens are a real good team. And the Ravens are going to cover.
All right, perfect. My last pick going into the weekend is going to be a pretty simple one here. There's not too much behind it. I think it's just pretty self-explanatory. I have the Cowboys team total under 13.5. This one scares me, I think, a little too little. Like, it doesn't scare me at all.
Little.
It scares me not enough is what I'm trying to say here. And those bets always end up kind of coming to bite you. But the Cowboys haven't hit this 13.5 2-touchdown total in either game they've been without Dak so far. I know it's not going to be big old Ben DiNucci this week, but I don't think either of the 2 quarterbacks they're going to roll out there are going to be capable of doing anything with the offense when Dak was hardly able to do anything with it before. You've seen Zeke struggle immensely since they've lost Dak at quarterback. And then on the other side of it, as if any of that wasn't enough, the Steelers are the best defense in football. And I don't think that's really disputable. I don't know if you do. But if I just can't see a Cowboys team who couldn't score more than 13.5 against the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles scoring more than 13.5 against the Steelers unless something crazy were to happen with field position or fumble or an interception. I just really can't see that happening, especially with how bad the Cowboys defense is. I don't see them forcing any turnovers. So, yeah, give me the under 13.5 there. And I'm like really, really confident in that. So I hope I'm not wrong.
I'm also really confident in my last pick. So let's get it out there. Who is the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars this week?
It's Mike Glennon.
It's not Mike Glennon.
Who is it?
They are sitting Mike Glennon to see what they got in their 7th-round rookie. I don't know what his name is. I forget. But they are not trotting out the veteran journeyman, Mike Glennon. They are trotting out whoever the 7th-round rookie is.
I'll find
I don't
it.
even know if it's announced. But I do know that it's not Mike Glennon. I mean, whenever you don't know the name of the quarterback, it's Jake Luton.
Jake Luton.
Yep.
Oregon State Beavers quarterback. Legend of the Oregon State Beavers.
Whenever you don't know the name of the starting quarterback for one team, you bet against that team. First of all. Second of all, the Jaguars' defense is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Maybe the worst one in the league. I've bet on the Jaguars way too many times and lost way too many times to even consider betting on the Jaguars again. I believe I bet against them on the Dolphins. They lost 31-13. I bet on them again the next week against the Bengals. They lost 33-25. And then I bet on an over with them and the Texans. And the Texans did their part, putting up 30. The Jaguars lost 14. Only put up 14, excuse me. The Texans, like I just said, beat the Jaguars 30-14 in their previous meeting. That was a 16-point game. I know it was in Houston, but Gardner Minshew played, and I promise you he's worth more points than Jake Luton or whatever his name is. And the Texans, I was just talking about fake good teams. Let me talk about a fake bad team real quick in the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans schedule has included the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Steelers, the Titans, the Packers, and the Vikings, if you want to throw them in there as well as another fake bad team. 5 playoff teams, actually 4 division leaders and the Ravens. I mean, that is brutal to start a season. Their only win has come against the Jaguars. I don't think that's going to be something that changes. The Texans are significantly better than the Jaguars. Deshaun Watson is significantly better than Jake Luton. J.J. Watt is significantly better than anyone that the Jaguars have on defense. It's going to be a blowout. 7 points is not enough. Give me the Texans -7.
Yeah, I mean, how can you bet against Yannick Ngakoue? Oh, wait.
Oh, wait. He's on the Vikings. Oh, wait. He's not.
Yeah, he's only been traded twice this year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. Well, if we just want to run through at the end here so we can get a fast and quick summary of our picks, we can do that. Let me just get them up here. So I started off the week with college football, betting the Mississippi State Vandy over 44.5. I then followed up with a UMass football bet, taking Marshall -44. Go UMass, but Marshall -44 here. My last college football pick of the week, which was my lock of the week, was the Virginia Tech Liberty over 67.5. Moving on to NFL, I ended up taking the Patriots, definitely not a homer pick, -7.5.
Not a homer pick.
Miami, the Miami-Arizona game, I have Arizona -4, and the Cowboys team total under 13.5.
Yeah, and for me, I'll start with my college as well. I have the Georgia-Florida over in that game. Georgia's going to put up a ton of points. I have the under in Tennessee and Arkansas. Love that one as well. And then I have Pitt +3 going into Florida State because Florida State is horrible. On the NFL side of things, I have Bills +3. I have, like I just mentioned, the Texans -7, and I have the Ravens -1.5. Getting disrespected, like I said. And that's it for me for the week. Gonna go 6-0, almost guaranteed.
No, yeah, my 6-0 is definitely pretty much guaranteed at this point too.
12 between the two of us.
Until we start losing them on Saturday and Sunday, I'm calling myself undefeated as of right now. So
we are undefeated. The show Line It Up is undefeated this week.
It is. So
those are just bad.
It's a great day to have a great day tomorrow.
Great day to have a great day tomorrow. I love it. Anyway, that's going to be it for us at Line It Up. We will be back next week virtually with more picks, more college football talk. As we get deeper into the season, we'll start talking about the playoff, start talking about the NFL playoff, along with giving you our best bets for the rest of the year. And that's going to be it for Nick and I. Nick, take it away.
Best of luck, guys.
Have a good one.